Let's be real for a second. Periods can be a lot. Coming from somebody with endometriosis, I know they can be a lot. The bloating, the cravings, the mood swings, the heavy flow, and the last thing you want to think about is whether your period products are doing more harm than good to you and the planet. That's why I'm so excited to talk to you about Period Aisle, your go-to for eco-friendly and body-friendly period underwear. Not only are these underwear super comfortable, seriously, they don't have that like itchy, really tight band, but they're also reusable, saving the planet from so much waste. Did you know that the average person with a period uses around 12,000 disposable products in their lifetime? That's a lot of pads and tampons piling up in landfills. But with Period Aisle, you can feel good knowing you're making a sustainable choice and treating your body to something that's free of harmful chemicals. And if you're thinking, okay, but I have endo, I have a really heavy flow, can it handle that? Yeah, it can. Their products are designed for all kinds of flows, light days, heavy days, and everything in between. The current CEO, Lux Perry, actually has endometriosis and designed these products with that intent for heavy flow and everything in between. No more sneaky leaks or awkward public bathroom trips. Period Aisle has got your back. So if you want to feel empowered and comfortable while making an impact on the planet, check out Period Aisle and use code Chronic Chronicles for 15% off. Trust me, your uterus and Mother Earth will thank you. Hi guys, welcome back to another episode of the Chronic Chronicles. I'm your host, Lexi Halloran, and today we have a solo episode. I'm going to be talking about anxiety, which I never really thought I would talk about, but I've been feeling a lot of anxiety lately and I'm feeling called to talk about it. So we're going to do that. But before we get started into the bulk of the episode, I do want to kind of just catch you guys up on life. And I know that we didn't have an episode last week. Thank you guys for being patient with me on that. We have had an insane summer. Today's October 1st that I'm recording this. And I feel like summer like finally has like come to an end and it is fall and life is going to get more chill, which I'm excited about. I love the fall months and I love the winter months because everything just like slows down a little bit and I can really like get into like habits and I don't know, I feel like I get to like rework myself a little bit. So I'm excited for the slow months. And yeah, just to kind of catch you guys up on like what's been going on this summer again was insane. We, as in my boyfriend and I, had people visiting, like staying in our apartment, or we were gone either together or separately on different things like literally almost every weekend this summer. And I think maybe we had maybe 1 or 2 weekends free where we were here at home. Every other weekend was busy, like literally starting in May up until last weekend. It has been absolutely crazy. That being said, it's been amazing. Like it's been super, super fun. And we've had so much fun and so many memories this summer. And it's been so amazing that so many people wanted to visit. And we've seen so many people. And like we're from Michigan. We live in Seattle, but like all of our best friends and family live there. So it's been nice. I've seen my best friends like more times this year than I have in the last like 7 because I went to undergraduate school 7 hours away from where like all of my friends were. So I have seen them more this year than I have in a very long time. So I just feel like so full and warm-hearted and so happy, but also exhausted. And also my body is like, can you chill the fuck out, please? Like we need to chill out. So yeah, I guess I should like backtrack. The main thing that I really want to talk about in like my summer is I guess 3 weekends ago now. Wow, I can't believe it was already that long ago. But 3 weekends ago, I was in Portland and I hung out with Emma and Taylor. And as you guys know, they both did episodes on this podcast and I love them. They are my good friends now. Thank you, Chronic Chronicles community, for bringing us together. And I'm so happy. Like, this is exactly what I wanted the podcast to be, to like create a community for you guys, but like selfishly also create a community for me. And I love Emma and Taylor. We hosted the crafting community event together in Portland 3 weeks ago. And it was everything I could have ever wanted and more. And I'm like so grateful to everybody that came and everybody that, listens to the podcast. And we were able to have quite a few brands donate things. And some days, and Joni sponsored the event. And it was just so amazing. It was so amazing meeting so many people and having like crafting for people to do and getting to talk to so many people and have like watch them also form connections and form community. And I think a lot of those people were like from Portland or the PNW, and knowing that after that event they were leaving with more friends and more community just like made me feel so amazing. And that is like exactly what I wanted that event to be. Um, and also we were able to give away like so many amazing products that like Emma Taylor and I use on a almost daily basis and we really believe in. So that was amazing. And I had never been to Portland before, so that was a really cool experience. And I'm so excited to hopefully potentially do more events in the future, hopefully one in Seattle, and then who knows where else. And so, yeah, I'll definitely keep you guys updated on that. Once we figure out, we all needed a little bit of time. That was a very like time consuming thing to plan. Fun, but a lot. And so Emma Taylor and I just need a little bit of time to kind of recover from that. And personally, I need time to recover from my insanely busy summer, which we are. So, but yeah, we had that event in Portland, and then literally 3 days later, my boyfriend and I flew to Michigan, and we were there for 10 days. And we had one of his best friends from high school got married. He was in that wedding. And then the following weekend, one of my best friends got married, and I was in her wedding. And it was just a very, very busy 10 days. Like it felt like we were in Michigan for like three, but we were there for a long time. And then we got home this past Saturday night. We had Sunday to like get groceries and kind of recuperate. And then yesterday I started a new position at my company, and I'm super grateful and excited for that. And it'll be a lot more conducive to, having endometriosis and being in pain. So I'm excited for that. And oh, October is my birth month. So my birthday is October 21st. I will be turning 27. So I will be doing an episode probably the week of my birthday or the week after. And it'll be like things I've learned, or I don't know, things that I've learned by 27. And it'll be kind of like focused on that. So a little bit less chronic illness focused, but there will definitely be like themes of things I've learned about my chronic illness as well. And yeah, I don't know. We have a lot of exciting things coming for the podcast. We have always a lot of interviews with people. And I'm trying to move into some other chronic illnesses as well. Obviously, the podcast is heavily focused on endometriosis, PCOS, women's health. But it is called the Chronic Chronicles. So I want to make sure that I'm interviewing people with like diverse chronic illnesses, and like I have one on diabetes coming up soon. And yeah, I'm just excited. So as always, please leave me any feedback. The Instagram is Chronic Chronicles Pod, and I check those DMs like daily. I try to respond as fast as I can to them. But any feedback you guys have for me, I'm always interested to hear more about it. So yeah. Okay. Next, I'll do a little like weekly report. And yeah, so R is reading. I canceled my Audible because I I love Audible. I listen to them all the time, but it's pretty expensive. And I think it's called Libby. I can double check that, but I'm pretty sure it's called Libby, and it's an app where if you have a library card, you can rent books through the app and like audiobooks through the app. It's kind of hard. You have to be on a wait list, but I was trying to cut down on my subscriptions, and I'm like, you know what? I can't be spending this much on a book a month. And you only get one. And normally I read, like I listen through it pretty quickly and then I have to wait anyways. So I'm gonna just try the library way. And yeah, so I'm taking a little bit of break, but I am reading, I think it's called The Power of Habit, kind of on and off. I was reading a little bit out of it on the plane, but I've just been really busy. I haven't really been reading much, which I'm really sad about. I love reading. I'm super excited for like the crisp fall mornings that I can like go on a walk and listen to an audiobook or like sit out on my balcony and read a little bit in the mornings. So definitely excited to get back into reading. I've kind of fallen off the last like month. Okay, E is eating. I'm eating a lot of soups. I feel like Sunday football, fall are for soups, and we've honestly made quite a few recently. We did white chicken chili. We did like a Chili's dupe to their, I think it's like their enchilada soup. Um, what else? Last week, literally this past Sunday, I did a loaded potato soup, and that was so good. So good. Uh, I've been playing with fall desserts. So trying to do anti-inflammatory, low refined sugar fall desserts, which is extremely hard, but we're getting there. We are getting there. So I've been really like playing with baking. Obsessing. I'm obsessing over Pinterest boards right now. I've always loved Pinterest. I've always had a Pinterest account, but like in the recent months, I've been like making kind of like vision boards for every month on Pinterest. So I did a September one and then I'm working on an October one today since it's October 1st. And they're just really fun, kind of like envisioning like what I want my life and my month to look like. I've been really getting into manifesting, which again, I never thought that I would say that. I thought it was like super woo-woo, but I'm into it. I'm really loving it. And I really do think that mindset is everything. Obviously, like if you are envisioning things to happen in your life, like manifesting or whatever you want to call it, it's not like those things just come to you. You have to work for those things as well. But I do think that like putting it out into the universe, writing it down, making a vision board, stuff like that, like puts you in the mindset to want to work towards those things and to start making like little goals to work towards those things. So that's like kind of my idea on manifestation. It's not just like, oh, I want $1 million, so I'm gonna have $1 million. Like that's not really what I'm thinking. I'm like, oh, I want $1 million. So like, how do I get to a million? That's not, I mean, everybody wants $1 million, but that was an example. That's not actually on my vision board. Anyways, I'm just saying if you're gonna manifest something, you have to work towards it. It doesn't just like happen. And even if it did just happen, you have to be in a space where you're like ready for that to happen. Okay. I am recommending YouTube yoga workouts, like light morning, easy yoga stretching. I've been trying to do that recently because I just feel like my body is really stiff. I feel like my retired cheerleader body is like in pain all the time and like just really like stiff. And I need to like stretch. So very much recommending that. And then treating yourself to a manicure or a pedicure. You don't have to go anywhere for that. You can also like do that stuff at home. Literally fill up your bathtub, go take a bath, and yeah, after your bath, do a pedicure. I don't know. I've definitely done that. Is that gross? I don't think that's gross. They put your feet in hot water and for your pedicure anyways. But I'm just saying like take a relaxing bath, then your feet are, like warmed up and then when you get out of the bath, you can do your pedicure after. I for the weddings I went and got look how cute nails. A little French manicure. For the weddings I went and got a manicure with my boyfriend's mom and it was just like so nice. I haven't gotten an in-person manicure in a really long time, but they're so cute. I will definitely be doing them from home though, because these were like, I don't know, $60 and I can't afford that. But they're so cute. It was a really nice self-care. So yeah, that's my weekly report. Those are all the things. For the bulk of the episode, like I said earlier, we're going to be talking about anxiety and also kind of how like anxiety and chronic illness go hand in hand. as somebody living with persistent symptoms and health challenges, you your stress can naturally increase. And I want to preface this with, I think I've talked in the past on the podcast about how my doctors, when I was getting diagnosed with endometriosis, particularly my one gynecologist who I have talked badly about throughout this podcast. And yeah, she was just, we had a bad relationship. But one of the things, she was like extremely adamant that I had anxiety and that I needed to be treated with anxiety before she would continue to treat me with endometriosis, which I still believe was a horrible way on going about that on her part. But, like, for example, I didn't agree with her that I had anxiety when I was 19 and 20, 21. Like, I didn't feel like I had anxiety. I felt like anxiety was maybe something that I didn't really understand. Like, for me, I thought that anxiety was like having panic attacks and, um, like that anxiety comes from something, that you would feel stressed from something, and that would, oh my gosh, sorry, I just smacked my microphone, that would cause anxiety. um and I don't think that I really understood what anxiety was. Like, I felt like it was just like a hot topic, like everybody said they had anxiety, and I didn't feel like I had that. But I had my gynecologist can like tell me every single time that I saw her that I had anxiety and that I needed to be on medication for that. And I didn't want to be on medication. So we just had a lot of disagreements. Now, I do remember her saying that, like, she was very adamant that I needed to be on anti-anxiety medication before she continued to treat me for endometriosis, because she felt that they went hand in hand. Like, my body, I was stressing myself out and I had anxiety, and that was creating flare-ups. I didn't understand that at the time, and she never explained it to me. So I want to preface that with, they do go hand in hand, and there is scientific evidence on that, but that was not explained to me. So I want to try to explain that to you guys today. And also prefacing this with, I am not a medical provider. I did not go to medical school. This is my own personal experience, and also it's one, my personal experience, and two, scientific research that I have done, and I will provide sources in the show notes. But mostly, this is not medical advice at all. At all. You should always seek medical advice and don't diagnose yourself with things. But yes, I do want to, for anybody that has been diagnosed with anxiety and has a chronic illness and may be confused about how they might interact with each other, I do want to give some scientific background on that, plus tell you a little bit more about like my experiences with it. So that way, like, if you may be feeling these things too, you might feel less alone in it. So, okay, so I want to talk first about like my symptoms. Again, this is all like fairly new to me, just like coming to terms with the fact that I do have anxiety and learning more about it and kind of understanding. So I have found that I have a general state of feeling ill, like feeling sick, under the weather. And I really do think that contributes a lot to my anxiety. And I didn't realize that for a long time. Like nauseous, restless legs, um, and like just a general state of feeling sick, I think all has to do with my anxiety. Nail biting. This is embarrassing for me to admit, but I have bitten my nails since like my whole life. I can't remember a time where I didn't. Well, that's not true. I stopped in college for like a year and a half, and then it started up again because I don't know why. To this day, still bite my nails, and it is a never-ending struggle for me. I don't know how to stop it, and I don't even feel like I'm anxious. Like, we'll be sitting on the couch watching a movie, and my boyfriend will like hit my hand and be like, "Stop biting your nails. Like, are you anxious right now?" And I'm like, "I don't know. I don't feel anxious." But it's a habit, and it's gross, and I want to break it, but it's super hard to break. So if anyone has any advice on not biting your nails, please hit me up. Also, cheek biting. That's one too. That's happened in the last like 5 years, and that kind of goes in and out, but I'm in a really bad habit of it right now. So, and nothing looks worse in public than you fucking gnawing on your cheek. So here we are. If anyone has tips for that too, let me know. Um, okay. This one is a really big one for me, and it gets confusing for me with my ADHD too, because I don't know which one is which. Not being able to focus on normal tasks and feeling like I can't make decisions. Like both of those are under like ADHD and anxiety buckets. So it's hard for me to be like, do I have ADHD right now? Is like, am I ADHD acting up or am I anxious right now? And I don't know. So, but this is like kind of to an extreme. I feel like when I'm anxious and I feel like I can't focus and I can't make decisions, it's to a larger extreme than when my ADHD is acting up. I I almost feel like when my ADHD is being, it's like I can't focus on normal tasks, but I'm like kind of all over the place. Like I'm doing like I'll walk through the kitchen and I'll start unloading the dishwasher and then I'll see dirty dishes and I'll start hand washing dirty dishes because the dishwasher's not fully unloaded. And then I'm like, "Oh, I should clean out the fridge before I do all of this." So that I'm like the water is on, I'm actively washing dishes and the water's on and the dishwasher's open and it's half unloaded and then I start cleaning out the fridge and my boyfriend walks through the kitchen and he's like, "What the fuck? Like, why didn't you just finish this one thing?" I feel like that's ADHD for me. Whereas anxiety, I think, is I actually experienced this the other day, well, like a week ago when I was at work, but I suddenly like, I don't know, I couldn't do anything. It was like I had work to do, but I could not pick something to do and I couldn't focus on it. Like my mind was spinning on other things and I couldn't take myself out of that to actually get my work done. And I couldn't make any decisions. It was like I was nervous about making the right decision, so I would get stuck in what is called like the analysis paralysis and like overthinking. So it was like it was like I had tasks to do and I knew I had to do them, but I couldn't pick which one to start first because they all felt like they needed to be done. And then it was like this mental debate, and I couldn't even make a simple decision on which one to start. And then I felt like my entire day was stuck on that. Like I couldn't choose anything. And I was overthinking. And then I go into this like feeling like every decision I have to make has to be the perfect one and like I'm doing everything wrong and I'm gonna get fired and everything is horrible and I couldn't and like I can't pick anything. And then I'm just sitting at my desk staring at my laptop and I'm like, you have to get work done, but you can't pick any work to get done. And I feel like that is anxiety. That's not ADHD to me. I think that's my anxiety. But like that normally leads into, like I said, having to make like the perfect decision. And I have done this my entire life. I've set unrealistically high standards for myself. And I normally like joke around with my friends that this is like the eldest daughter syndrome. I have a lot of friends where we're all the oldest and we're the oldest daughters. And I feel like we all have this like we have to be perfect mentality, but it really like spirals into that when I'm going through this like analysis paralysis situation. I feel like that also leads into decision fatigue when I'm in these like situations where I have to make decisions all the time, especially with chronic illnesses, with endometriosis. It's like constantly you have to make the right choice. You have to make a good choice. You have to make decisions 24/7 on your treatment plans, what you're eating, how much you're sleeping, how much you're consuming of whatever, taking supplements, taking your medications, making your doctor's appointments, going to your doctor's appointments. It's like constant decisions for everything. And then I get this like decision fatigue. So, in general, chronic illness requires constant decision making from, daily symptom management to long-term care planning. And this continuous need to make decisions can lead to, decision fatigue. Also, just in everyday life, depending on what type of career you have, you could make more decisions. And it just gets your mental energy gets depleted. So, for someone who's already dealing with anxiety, the sheer number of decisions can feel overwhelming, and this leads to avoidance or really poor decision making due to mental exhaustion. So then I'm making bad decisions because I'm exhausted from making so many decisions. And then it just like, it's this feedback loop. It's this horrible cycle where I'm like, bad decision, bad decision. I have to make perfect decisions. What if I make the wrong decision? And then you're just stuck in this pattern of overthinking. And it happens to me a lot. And for a long time, I didn't recognize that as anxiety because no one, like when I was, no, somebody just diagnosed me with anxiety and didn't tell me like what it was. So I didn't know that was a symptom of that. I thought that decision fatigue was my ADHD, and sometimes it definitely can be, but it's different. They're different forms, I think. Another symptom I get is feeling like I'm in the way of everyone around me. Like I sometimes I think like especially during, I don't know, maybe my luteal phase when my hormones are a little bit wacky, it gets worse and I feel like I'm in the way of everyone around me and I'm just like a burden and oh my God, does that cause issues in life? So that's something that I'm like actively trying to rework my brain and like realize that I'm not a burden and people, if they didn't want to be around me, they wouldn't. So actually like feeling like I'm a burden and then like having those feelings and pushing them on other people make me a burden. No, will not make me a burden, but like that is creating the scenario that like I didn't even want, you know? Like I was never a burden to begin with, but like feeling that way and then like explaining to people that you feel that way and them making them aware of that can be an issue. Another symptom is coming up with planning for the worst case scenario. So, oh God, I have been doing this since I was a wee little baby. I mean, I remember being fucking 4 years old and having a disaster plan on if my mom died on her way to get me from preschool. Like, I genuinely, you guys are going to hear this and be like, that's crazy. Like, no way you could remember that. And I have some trauma from some things that happened when I was like 3. So let me tell you, that is true. Okay. I genuinely started therapy when I was very little. And because I had major separation anxiety from my mom, I was so worried she was going to die all the time. So I remember those thoughts and my disaster planning started then and it has continued. I am now almost 27 years old and I get like, I'm trying so hard to be better about it because when you have so much anxiety about your loved ones like dying or something bad happening to people. Like, for example, my partner, my boyfriend, I worry about him all the time, and it's not exactly fair to the people in your life that you are anxious and worried about them when they're being safe. You know what I mean? Like, you have to trust that it's kind of out of your hands. And it's really hard. It can be really hard when you have anxiety, and especially to maybe the level that I do in some of those cases, it can be really difficult. And obviously, like people can be supportive of those things and like do things to comfort you in those. And, they do. But it gets to a point where like it's not really fair to them. And you do have to take control over, like some of the things that are going on in your brain. But yeah, I have been coming up with a plan for the worst case scenario and like planning how I would survive after something horrible happening and having like figuring out what I would do for my entire life. The two like most physical symptoms for me are a racing heart and feeling like jittery from coffee, but not from coffee. I've actually never Actually, that's not true. I got the jitters from coffee one time when I was working at the hospital. I had like 6 cups of coffee and I like didn't realize it, and then I felt really jittery. But that's like the only time I've ever felt jittery from caffeine. So this is like jittery and like I can't sit still and like a racing heart. Like I get a racing heart all the time and I actually like wake up in panic attacks sometimes. So those are like my main physical symptoms from it. But for years and even now, it's been really hard for me to fully agree that these symptoms are anxiety because I've been told over the years, and I thought that anxiety comes from something and that you would feel stressed out from something actually happening. But for me, I never felt like my anxiety was necessarily triggered by an event or something. It it felt like it almost like would come on, or it feels like it comes on and then finds something to be worried about. Uh, it's almost like it's like this like cloud that comes over me, and then it's like, let me attach to something and find something to be anxious and worried about. I've had a really hard time coming to terms with actually having anxiety, like a really, really hard time with it. And I've been told by my doctors that I've had anxiety my entire life. And I can remember being told when I was literally in elementary school that I had anxiety, but I never understood how I could have anxiety when I never genuinely felt stress. Like as a child, I didn't feel stressed out, so I didn't know what anxiety felt like. I do feel a general state of being run down and like being sick, but I didn't realize until recently that that could be anxiety and like feeling nauseous and like I can't get my work done because I have all these thoughts about everything crumbling down around me is actually anxiety. But for a long time, I didn't know that. So, yeah, that's been my life with anxiety. But I want to talk a little bit about the science behind it. So again, like I'll link sources in the show notes. So the mind-body connection, I know that people talk about that all the time and it's a hot topic, but the mind-body connection is super important. And physical health influences physical health influences mental health and vice versa. So anxiety can amplify symptoms of chronic illness like increased pain perception, increased flare-ups, and chronic illnesses can also create more anxiety as well. So it's kind of like this never-ending cycle of them amplifying each other. So physiological aspects of chronic illness, like inflammation, could also contribute to anxiety. There are things like neuroinflammation. So, chronic inflammation is a very common feature of many chronic illnesses, like endometriosis, for example, or autoimmune diseases. And this persistent inflammatory state can trigger neuroinflammation, which is the inflammation of your brain tissue, which is linked to anxiety and mood disorders. So we have these things called pro-inflammatory cytokines, such as interleukins and tumor necrosis factor alpha. These can cross the blood-brain barrier and they affect brain regions involved in mood regulation, like the hippocampus. These cytokines can alter neurotransmitter levels like serotonin and dopamine, which are obviously very critical in regulating mood and anxiety. A lot of chronic illnesses can disrupt it's called the HPA axis, which is the hypothalamic pituitary adrenal axis. This is responsible for some of your body's stress response, and chronic inflammation, mostly through cytokine activity, can overstimulate this axis, and this causes extra cortisol release, which is your stress hormone, so extra stress release. And this sustained stress hormone can contribute to feelings of anxiety, overwhelm, and it also impairs the body's ability to regulate this inflammation, which again creates this kind of like feedback loop between stress and chronic illness. In some of these illnesses, like IBS, endometriosis, and autoimmune diseases, gut health can be compromised as well. I know that gut health has been also a hot topic. The gut microbiome plays a key role in producing neurotransmitters like serotonin. In fact, 90% of serotonin is produced in your gut. So, this dysbiosis, which is an imbalance in the gut microbiota and intestinal inflammation, can affect your vagus nerve, which connects the gut and the brain, potentially leading to increased anxiety. Also, pro-inflammatory molecules from the gut can enter your circulation and can affect brain function. So, there's a huge connection between your gut and your brain. And when we have endometriosis, IBS, other illnesses like that, and you have a compromised gut microbiota, it would make so much sense that you're having issues balancing or producing serotonin. There's also this thing called mitochondrial dysfunction. So your mitochondria, powerhouse of the cell, your mitochondria produces energy in your cells. So they're involved in managing a lot of things, but they also aid in managing your body's response to stress and inflammation. And in chronic conditions, the mitochondrial dysfunction is super common. It leads to reduced energy production, increased oxidative stress, and the cellular stress can contribute to neurological symptoms like anxiety, as the brain is obviously super dependent on proper mitochondrial function for energy and stability in general. Chronic pain is a nightmare, but it's often associated with conditions, like fibromyalgia, endometriosis, arthritis, and it can lead to central sensititis, oh my God, sensitive. It can lead to a heightened response in pain stimuli. So, this overactivity in pain pathways can spill into mood regulating pathways and can contribute to anxiety. The brain perceives constant threats and remains in a heightened state of alert, fostering anxiety. So essentially, this chronic pain creates a heightened response to pain stimuli, and then the overactivity in the pain pathways makes your brain be on constant alert and it messes with your mood regulating pathways. And this fosters anxiety. Sleep. Sleep is so important, and I know that people talk about this all the time, but a lot of chronic illnesses can lead to poor sleep quality due to being in pain, discomfort, being stressed out, um, a whole bunch of things. And sleep disruption has been shown to increase inflammation in the body and negatively affect mental health. So, lack of restorative sleep also impairs the body's ability to manage inflammation, and it just creates, again, another cycle that our bodies can't get out of. Also, chronic illness often results in cognitive fatigue or brain fog, as what a lot of people call it. I also call it brain fog. And this can fuel feelings of anxiety. So when it becomes difficult to think clearly or perform normal daily tasks, it would make sense that you might feel overwhelmed, which would also trigger anxious thoughts. And this is especially true in conditions like multiple sclerosis, fibromyalgia, endometriosis, where cognitive difficulties are extremely common. So, the physiological aspects of chronic illness, mostly inflammation, can significantly contribute to the development of worsening anxiety, worsening mood disorders, and all of these things that we talked about, neural inflammation, HPA axis dysfunction, the gut brain microbiota communication, and other factors like mitochondrial impairment and sleep disruption create a direct link between chronic illness and anxiety, and they all create vicious cycles where your body is stressed. This understanding of how there are actual things that are contributing to your anxiety sheds light on why addressing the physical aspects of chronic illness, like reducing inflammation, can really help alleviate everything, including your anxiety symptoms. Addressing inflammation and reducing inflammation is literally the most important thing that you could do for your body if you have a chronic illness. So, me with endometriosis, addressing that I have chronic inflammation, understanding what chronic inflammation is, understanding what inflammation is in general, and understanding what inflammation does for your body systems. Like, for example, there are some things that happen in your body that inflammation is needed for. Fighting off illnesses. An increase in your inflammation triggers your body to fight off illnesses. When you're getting pregnant, you actually need a little bit of inflammation. So there are good things that come from inflammation, but there are also very bad things that come from chronic inflammation that is not being regulated. That being said, reduce your inflammation. Figure out how to do that. And it's not necessarily an easy process. It's a lot easier said than done. I'm still figuring that out. But maybe in a new episode, we can talk about just what inflammation is and some tips on how to reduce that. But it can also help anxiety symptoms. I want to talk about some of the things that I do for anxiety and what I've done throughout my lifetime and things that have helped. So, ways that I found that work for me are simplifying choices, which sounds kind of silly, but it helps so much with all of the decision fatigue and analysis paralysis, all those things that I talked about. Simplifying choices and even having people in your life simplify choices for you. So, for example, like in my family and with my boyfriend, my friends, like if we are making decisions on things, it's a lot easier for me to make a decision if you give me choices than if you just say, "What do you want?" Like, for example, this is so stupid, but like if my boyfriend says, "What do you want for dinner?" I do not know. I genuinely have I have 10,000 things that go through my brain and I can't make the right choice. So that versus do you want this or this or this? So much easier for me. So much easier. Just give me some options and I can maybe pick it. So presenting options in a clear, straightforward manner can reduce like overwhelming decisions and also breaking down decisions or tasks into smaller, more manageable steps. Like any task I have, I try to break it down into the most simple things and go in a stepwise manner because I feel like that is less daunting to me and I can actually get them done. And I make lists for literally everything. Like when I'm going through a really, really bad anxiety spiral, I will make a list for like the most simple things like make bed, brush teeth, make coffee, like the most simple tasks. Um, because that at least I'm getting like one thing done at a time, and it feels less daunting. So also, asking your doctors or therapist or whoever you go to for anxiety, asking them to actually educate you on what anxiety is and why it happens and things that might make it better or make it worse or things that might be symptoms. Like giving, if you are going to therapy or you do have a doctor, telling them all the symptoms that you have, even though you may not know that they're related to anxiety. So that way, like, they can explain it to you and asking them to give you as much explanation as you need because understanding the reasoning behind a diagnosis and the reasoning behind a treatment can alleviate so much fear and uncertainty and empower you to make more confident decisions. So having the proper education is so important and it actually relieves like so much of your anxiety symptoms in general about anxiety. And then things like decision aids. So you can have like decision trees. Like I also will make like trees sometimes, like a kind of like a flow chart on like making decisions. I make a lot of pro con lists. Um, or I think they make like some apps for like decisions too. Ooh, you know what I use all the time? Like actually way more frequently than I think anyone else does in life is I literally Google like random wheel spinner or something, random name generator. And then you can like, it'll just pop up a wheel and you can put in things. So like literally, do I want to go to Target right now? Yes or no? I put that in and I do it based off of that. I'm like, okay, cool. It said yes, I'm going to Target. It said no, okay, I'm staying home. Or what do I want for dinner? Four choices. It picks for me. Like I love a random wheel generator. Okay. Love it. Um, And then other things that I do are some more like mindfulness things. Like I do breathing techniques. I think it's actually called like box breathing, where you like breathe in for 4, hold for 4, and then breathe out for 4. That's what I do. It might be different amounts of time, but I do 4, 4, 4. And then I also do journaling. Not very good at it, I won't lie to you guys, but I try to just like journal out what I'm feeling because I feel like with my anxiety, what really helps me is talking about it, like literally yapping somebody's ear off about what's going on in my head right now. But not gonna lie, not that doesn't work for everybody. Like some people don't want to hear about what is going on in your brain 24/7. So for me, if somebody can't listen to me talk about it, then I will just like write everything down and then I'm like getting it out of my head and I'm putting it somewhere else. It doesn't like take it away, but it helps a little bit because I'm like I'm kind of talking about it just to a piece of paper. Therapy. I am not actively seeing a therapist, but I have gone to therapy my entire life and I am trying to find a therapist right now, like in the Seattle area. So I do think that for me, talking about things does help me. Like sometimes I'd have to cut myself off though, because I'll get into like overthinking when I'm talking about it nonstop. But like if I'm going through a really anxious state, I can't get anything done in the day if I don't talk about it and get it out of my brain. Like I can't get anything done. So therapy is super beneficial for that. And then walks, stretching, yoga, sleep, reducing caffeine. I know that those things people say all the time and it can be really annoying, but they do help if you allow them to help. And then the last thing are, I've already said it, but lists. I make a list for literally everything. And being able to check it off, it just makes my brain feel chef's kiss. That is about it for today's episode. I really hope that you guys hopefully got some good information out of this episode and if you have anxiety or you've been confused about your anxiety or you have a chronic illness, a chronic pain disorder, anything like that and you also have anxiety and you've been like, what the fuck's going on in my body? I hope that this made you feel a little bit more informed and educated and hopefully help you understood a little bit more about how anxiety works and like the actual science behind it because I feel like that helps me. Like my little science brain needs to know like that it's real, I guess, and like what is going on. So I hope that this was informative for you. And if you have any feedback about today's episode or any of the episodes or the podcast in general, please reach out to me either on Instagram at Chronic Chronicles Pod, or you can always email me at the Chronic Chronicles Pod at gmail.com. Please subscribe, follow, like, leave us a review, a rate, anything. All of that means literally the world to me. It also helps continue to grow our community so it can reach more people like you. Thank you guys so much, and I will talk to you next week. Okay? Enjoy October. Love ya.